Any more questions? Yeah, yourself.
Yeah.
Hi, General. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm from not too far from you. I'm in Staten Island.
Oh, yeah? Real? What the hell? How did you get out? How did you all get out? Where's my water?
Your water's behind you there.
I
I
read
got it.
beforehand that before your troops were deployed to Iraq, you had to go to like a cultural sensitivity.
Sure.
I want to ask about how effective you thought that was, and maybe just a little bit on kind of what the perception on the ground from average citizens in Iraq was on Iraqis being there.
Yeah, let me start at the end. You know, the average citizen in Iraq is about as hard to identify as the average citizen in Dublin or the average citizen in, you know, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Maybe even a little harder. And I say that because, look, what happened in Iraq was there were decades, and I might even be able to argue centuries of animosity that had been. So look, here's what happened in the Middle East in general. We went from a period of imperialism. I mean, you go back and look at history. There was a period of imperialism where the great European powers generally, you know, sponsored or took surrogates, or, you know, find your word, you know, noblesse oblige, whatever word they chose. They came into the Middle East and Africa for two reasons. Let's face it, three: influence, resources, but also I think out of a genuine sense of being able to try to help the people in there. But when they got there, they realized they knew very little about it. That's what happened to us in Iraq too, but I'll come back to that. They knew very little about it. So generally speaking, imperialism began to get a bad name. Nobody wanted to be called an imperialist. So what happened? They picked a tribe, or they picked a group, or they picked an individual, and they prepared them to take, because they wanted to give it back. So if you're in Rwanda, I want to give it back. I don't want it anymore. We tried that in Iraq too. I'll come back to that. And they didn't want it. No, thank you. But they had to, if they wanted to get out of there, they had to give it to somebody. They gave it to somebody, but that somebody eventually became a strongman. And we went through an entire cycle of history in strongmen, political, dominant. Generally, it was good for stability. If you talk to Iraqis today, some of them will wish that Saddam was back. And you say, you cannot be true. That can't be right. But it is. It's stable, but it's not equitable. The resources, it's corrupt, it's inequitable. It's all the things that come with a name like Muammar Gaddafi, okay? So anyway, and then all of a sudden, the strongmen got to be affected by digital echoes, you know? Along came the information age. People said, holy crap, we got it that bad? I didn't know. You mean people out there have iPhones and stuff, and I'm sucking along here with a flip phone? And so all of a sudden, Arab Spring, you know, fruit vendor in Tunisia, and by the way, the Western world says, yeah, this is what we've been waiting for, until they saw what happened, which is nobody's in charge, and these decades and centuries of animosity. And what happens is everybody rushes for the trough and says, it's my turn. Anybody Iraqi here? I mean, because I don't want to talk to your history. I never saw anything like, Iraq, by the way, had every reason to succeed. Education, agriculture, water. Nobody in the Middle East has water. Iraqi has water. A moderate education system, moderate religion. It's hard to even think about that now. But when the lid blew off and there was the trough, they rushed it. And they were elbowing, it's my turn, it's my turn. And they set themselves back a decade. Now, you might say, well, you should have saw that coming. Yeah, maybe, but we didn't see it coming. So when you say, what did the average person on the street think about American soldiers? First thing is, we were treated extraordinarily well early on. But then our political leaders took the top four layers out of all of the ministries. Ministry of Oil, Ministry of Electricity, Ministry of Public Works. Nobody's collecting trash. The sewer system collapsed because we took anybody that could possibly run it, we took them out. That's a bad way to put it. We fired them, sent them home. And it collapsed. It was a failed state. Then they got mad at us. They said, well, wait a minute. Frankly, it was probably predictable. And then they said, come on. I used to get this myself. They'd say, come on, General. I was there for 14 months and then 22 months with a year in between. So I came back. They were saying, hey, good to see you again. General, by the way, how come you can't get this fixed? You guys put a man on the moon in 1960. I can't tell you how many times I heard this. You put a man on the moon in 1969, and you can't fix my goddamn electricity? It was in Arabic too, so I was really insulted. But in any case, that's the way they felt about it. So the kid on the street, who by the way, look, if we had at the high water mark 175,000 soldiers there, I'm going to concede to you right now that 2% of them were angry about being there, didn't like Iraqis, didn't like Muslims, didn't like themselves maybe. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So 2% of 175,000 is a big number, and you had to watch that. The other 98%, unbelievable, really. I mean, putting up with all kinds of stuff and trying to do their best every day to go out there and put this thing back on its feet. I think we're on the right track now. So what did we do the first three times? 91, 2003, 2007. We rushed in, we took control, we polished it up. You know, we made the electricity work, we built new buildings, we got the sewage system working. Not much effort on Iraqis' part, frankly. And then we tried to give it back. And they said, okay, thanks. And they went to the trough again. So what are we doing this time? We're not rushing in. We're not doing it for them. We're providing enormous amounts of support. This time, instead of owning the house, we built a scaffolding around it. And we're fixing the shutters here and there. And they got the plumbing, they got the electricity. If they want windows, they put the windows in. We might be there to explain to them that the windows should be put in, kind of vertical, not horizontal. But whatever it takes, we're going to be there. And they're doing the fighting, and we're doing the support. And it's their country, and by the way, it's working. And as a result, they actually think more of us now than they did before. So that's a long-winded answer to say we worked our bottoms off to try to get soldiers ready to understand the culture, the religion, the tribal relationships. If you were in the north with the Kurds, you needed one set of skills. If you were in the south with the Shia, you needed another set of skills. In fact, you could really insult someone if you weren't careful, applying, the skills in the wrong place. So it was a lot of work. It remains a lot of work, but I think we got the right answer now.